It was supposed to be just another busy Wednesday at Dallas International Airport until something absolutely unthinkable happened. Travelers stopped mid-stride, coffee cups frozen halfway to their lips, as 14 police dogs suddenly abandoned their posts, racing toward a small girl clutching a purple backpack near Terminal C. Time seemed to stand still. Nobody moved. Without warning, the dogs began circling her aggressively, their barks echoing through the terminal like alarm bells. Maya stumbled backward, her eyes wide with terror. "Mommy, help me!" she screamed, searching desperately for her parents in the growing crowd. Without warning, the dogs began circling her aggressively, their barks echoing through the terminal like alarm bells. Maya stumbled backward, her eyes wide with terror. "Mommy, help me!" she screamed, searching desperately for her parents in the growing crowd. A senior officer, a broad-shouldered man with an intense expression, pushed through the circle of dogs. "Little girl, I need you to stay very still," he said, his voice firm but controlled. Maya's face drained of color. "I didn't do anything bad. Please, I promise." Her small voice cracked, fear rising in her chest. Then the dogs erupted again, their barking more intense, more urgent than before. Was this child in immediate danger? Could she possibly be carrying explosives or drugs? Or were these highly trained animals trying to protect her from an invisible threat no human could detect? What happened next shocked every single person in that airport and transformed this 7-year-old girl into the unforgettable hero of a story the world would never stop talking about. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you never miss another amazing true tale. And here's a question for you. Have you ever seen a dog behave in a way that completely baffled everyone around them? Share your stories in the comments below. I love reading them. Now, let's get into what happened when 14 police dogs surrounded a terrified little girl at Dallas International Airport. 6 hours earlier, Maya had woken up before her alarm, too excited to sleep. Today was the day. Today, they were flying to Seattle to visit Grandma Rose, and Maya had a secret plan that made her heart race with anticipation every time she thought about it. She had packed her purple backpack the night before, tucking it under her bed so her parents wouldn't see. It was perfect. Everything was ready. She just had to make it through security without anyone asking too many questions.
Maya, sweetheart, are you ready? The Uber will be here in 10 minutes.
Maya grabbed her backpack and hugged it close to her chest. It felt heavier than usual, but that was okay. It was supposed to be heavy. She had worked hard to make sure everything inside was just right. David, her father, stood at the bottom of the stairs with their suitcases, checking his phone for the flight status. "Right on time," he said with a smile. "Grandma's going to be so happy to see you, Maya Bear." Maya grinned but said nothing, her arms wrapped protectively around her backpack. At the airport, the family moved through the crowds with practiced ease. David handled the luggage check while Priya kept Maya close, one hand resting gently on her daughter's shoulder. They had flown this route a dozen times before. It should have been routine.
Here, baby, let me carry that for you. It looks heavy.
No, I can carry it myself. I'm not a baby anymore.
Priya exchanged a glance with David, who simply shrugged. 7-year-olds were unpredictable. One day they wanted to be carried everywhere. The next day they insisted on doing everything themselves.
Hey, all right, independent lady. Just don't complain when your shoulders hurt later.
As they waited in line, Maya shifted her weight from foot to foot, her fingers tracing the zipper of her backpack nervously. She leaned down slightly, her lips barely moving as she whispered something too quiet for anyone else to hear.
Maya, who are you talking to?
Nobody, just thinking out loud.
It's okay, sweetie. We're all a bit nervous.
Thinking out loud, huh? You feeling okay? Not nervous about flying?
I'm fine, Daddy. I promise, everything's fine.
But everything wasn't fine, though Maya didn't know it yet. Inside that purple backpack, carefully wrapped in plastic bags to keep them fresh, were 3 pounds of homemade dog treats, 2 packages of premium beef jerky, a bag of turkey strips, and a container of bacon-flavored biscuits. The scent, concentrated and contained in that small space, was about to trigger a reaction that would turn the entire airport upside down. Maya stepped forward in line, her secret pressed against her chest, completely unaware that in less than 15 minutes, her act of kindness would create the most chaotic scene Dallas International Airport had ever witnessed. The security checkpoint at Terminal C was a churning river of humanity. Business travelers in wrinkled suits frantically checked their watches. Families with crying toddlers struggled to collapse strollers, and college students hauled oversized backpacks while scrolling through their phones. The air smelled of coffee, anxiety, and the faint chemical scent of cleaning solution on the metal detectors. Maya pressed closer to her mother as they joined the snaking line. The backpack felt like it was burning against her shoulders, as if everyone could somehow see through the purple fabric to the surprise inside. She watched a TSA agent wave an elderly woman through the body scanner, then signal for a random bag check on a teenager's duffel. "Boarding passes and IDs ready," David reminded them, though they had done this countless times before. He seemed distracted, already thinking about the presentation he had to give in Seattle. "Boarding passes and IDs ready," David reminded them, though they had done this countless times before. He seemed distracted, already thinking about the presentation he had to give in Seattle. Beyond the checkpoint, in the open expanse of the terminal, 3 K9 units moved through the crowds with practiced precision. Officer Chen and her Belgian Malinois, Sasha, patrolled near Gate 8. Officer Rodriguez walked his German Shepherd, Max, past the Starbucks kiosk. Near the food court, Officer Kim kept pace with her Labrador, Duke, weaving between travelers with their rolling suitcases. The dogs moved like professionals, noses working constantly, filtering through thousands of scents. Perfume, fast food, leather shoes, magazine paper, hand sanitizer. They ignored it all, trained to alert only on specific markers: explosives, narcotics, weapons. Their handlers barely needed to guide them. These animals knew their jobs. Maya didn't see them yet. She was too focused on the bins sliding along the conveyor belt, watching passengers remove their shoes and empty their pockets. Her heart hammered in her chest. Would they make her open the backpack? Would they ask what was inside?
Next!
Come on, let's keep moving.
David placed his laptop in a bin. Priya added her purse and jacket. Maya clutched her backpack tighter.
Sweetie, you need to put that through the X-ray.
But
Come on, Maya. You know the rules. Everything goes through.
With trembling hands, Maya lifted the backpack and placed it in a gray plastic bin. She watched it disappear into the tunnel of the X-ray machine, her secret sliding away from her on a rubber belt. What if they saw? What if they asked questions? Her plan had seemed so simple when she thought of it 3 days ago, baking treats in the kitchen while her mom was at work and her dad was on a conference call. The backpack emerged on the other side. No one stopped it. No alarm sounded. Maya exhaled with relief. With trembling hands, Maya lifted the backpack and placed it in a gray plastic bin. She watched it disappear into the tunnel of the X-ray machine, her secret sliding away from her on a rubber belt. What if they saw? What if they asked questions? Her plan had seemed so simple when she thought of it 3 days ago, baking treats in the kitchen while her mom was at work and her dad was on a conference call. The backpack emerged on the other side. No one stopped it. No alarm sounded. Maya exhaled with relief. But as she stepped through the metal detector, something was already happening behind her. Something she couldn't see. Sasha, 20 yards away near Gate 8, had suddenly stopped mid-stride. Her ears perked forward. Her nostrils flared. Officer Chen felt the leash go taut as the dog's entire body oriented toward Terminal C's security checkpoint, toward a small girl in a yellow sundress, now pulling a purple backpack from a bin. Sasha's training told her to sit and alert, but the scent was so overwhelming, so irresistible, that instinct overrode everything else. The dog lunged forward, pulling Officer Chen off balance. And across the terminal, 2 other dogs lifted their heads at exactly the same moment. But as she stepped through the metal detector, something was already happening behind her. Something she couldn't see. Sasha, 20 yards away near Gate 8, had suddenly stopped mid-stride. Her ears perked forward. Her nostrils flared. Officer Chen felt the leash go taut as the dog's entire body oriented toward Terminal C's security checkpoint, toward a small girl in a yellow sundress, now pulling a purple backpack from a bin. Sasha's training told her to sit and alert, but the scent was so overwhelming, so irresistible, that instinct overrode everything else. The dog lunged forward, pulling Officer Chen off balance. And across the terminal, 2 other dogs lifted their heads at exactly the same moment. Officer Rodriguez was reviewing a passenger manifest near Gate 15 when Max went berserk. The German Shepherd, normally the picture of composure, jerked his head up so violently that Rodriguez dropped his tablet. The dog's nostrils flared wide, drinking in air like he'd been drowning and just broke the surface. Max, what the? The dog didn't wait for the command. He bolted, the leash ripping through Rodriguez's fingers before he could tighten his grip. Max. Heel. Max. But Max was gone, his powerful legs eating up the distance across the terminal floor, dodging travelers and luggage carts with single-minded purpose. Rodriguez sprinted after him, shouting apologies to the passengers his dog nearly bowled over. Near the food court, Officer Kim felt Duke's entire body go rigid beneath her hand. The Labrador's head swiveled toward Terminal C, and for a moment, he was perfectly still. Then he lunged forward with such force that Kim stumbled, her knee hitting the ground hard. Duke, stop! She grabbed the leash with both hands, digging her heels in, but the 90-pound dog dragged her forward 3 feet before she managed to regain her footing. Control, I need assistance. My K9 is out of control. At the international terminal, Officer Park's Rottweiler, Titan, had been peacefully lying at his handler's feet during a routine break. The massive dog suddenly scrambled upright, nearly knocking over a coffee cup, his deep bark echoing through the corridor. Park grabbed for the leash, but Titan was already moving, his bulk scattering a group of teenagers like bowling pins. Within 30 seconds, 14 police dogs across 3 terminals had detected the same scent. 14 handlers fought losing battles with their partners. Radios exploded with frantic chatter. All units, we have multiple K9s compromised. Something's wrong, they're all converging on Terminal C. This is Chen, I don't know what's happening, but they're focused on a child. The terminal transformed into chaos. Passengers screamed and scattered as police dogs charged past them. Parents grabbed their children. Business travelers dove behind coffee kiosks. A woman's suitcase went flying as a Labrador bounded over it without breaking stride. Maya stood frozen, watching the wave of fur and muscle rushing toward her from every direction. Her purple backpack felt like it was made of lead. Tears spilled down her cheeks as understanding began to dawn. Somehow this was because of her. Because of what she'd brought. Maya, get behind me. David shoved his daughter behind his back, spreading his arms wide as if he could shield her from an army of police dogs. Priya grabbed Maya's hand, her own hand shaking. Officer Chen arrived first, Sasha pulling her into position like a missile locked on target. Then Max skidded to a halt beside them, his handler stumbling up seconds later, gasping for breath. Duke crashed into the circle, then Titan, then a Springer Spaniel Maya hadn't even seen before. One by one, 14 dogs formed a ring around the family. They didn't attack. They didn't bite. But they barked loud, insistent, demanding barks that made it impossible to think, impossible to move, impossible to do anything but stand there in the center of the chaos. Alarms began to sound. Security barriers slammed down. Over the PA system, a comm voice announced, Terminal C is now in lockdown. All passengers remain where you are. This is not a drill. Maya's knees buckled, and she collapsed against her father's legs, sobbing. She had just wanted to do something nice. The wall of dogs pressed closer, their bodies forming an impenetrable barrier of muscle and teeth. To every observer in that terminal, It looked like 14 trained killers preparing to strike. The barking was deafening, aggressive, relentless. Sasha's lips pulled back, revealing gleaming canines. Max's hackles were raised along his spine. Titan's massive head swayed back and forth, his deep growl rumbling like distant thunder. But Officer Chen, closest to the dogs, saw something that didn't match the threat assessment. Sasha wasn't in attack mode. Her tail, though rigid, showed the faintest hint of a wag. Her eyes were locked on the backpack, not the child. And that whine beneath the barking, that wasn't aggression. That was desperate, almost pitiful begging. "Something's not right," Chen muttered into her radio, but her voice was drowned out by the chaos. "All units, establish perimeter." The command came from Lieutenant Morrison, who had just arrived from the security office, his face flushed and grim. He saw 14 dogs surrounding a child and her parents, saw the terror on their faces, saw the way the girl clutched that purple backpack like her life depended on it. In his 23 years of law enforcement, he'd learned to trust the dogs. If they were this agitated, there was a reason. Get everyone back. Clear the terminal. Now. TSA agents began herding passengers toward the exits. Dozens of travelers grabbed their belongings and ran, many abandoning their luggage in their panic. A mother carrying twins sprinted past, one child wailing in each arm. An elderly man shuffled as fast as his walker would allow, looking back over his shoulder at the scene with wide, frightened eyes. "Please, we haven't done anything wrong." Priya's voice cracked with desperation. She held Maya against her hip now, the way she used to when Maya was a toddler, as if she could somehow absorb her daughter back into her body where she'd be safe. David kept his arms spread wide, his business shirt soaked with sweat. "This is insane. She's 7 years old." 7. But his protests only made things worse. Resisting, arguing, those were red flags. Morrison had seen parents unknowingly carry contraband for criminal organizations before. Seen children used as unwitting mules. The innocent always protested the loudest. "Sir, I need you to step away from the child," Morrison commanded, his hand resting on his belt, fingers inches from his weapon. "I'm not leaving my daughter." "Sir, this is your final warning. Step away." Behind them, the evacuation was creating its own chaos. A luggage cart tipped over, spilling suitcases across the floor. Someone pulled a fire alarm, adding its shrill scream to the cacophony. Gate agents made frantic announcements about flight delays. In the parking garage, the first news van was already pulling up, a cameraman jumping out before the vehicle even stopped. Maya couldn't breathe. The dogs surrounded her, their barking so loud it felt like her skull might split open. She tried to speak, tried to explain, but her voice was gone. Only sobs came out, choking and desperate. Duke pressed forward, his nose almost touching the purple backpack. His tail was wagging now, unmistakably, frantically. He wasn't threatening, he was begging. But nobody was watching the tail. They were watching the teeth. 2 uniformed officers moved in with practiced efficiency. Officer Blake grabbed David's arm while Officer Santos positioned herself between Priya and Maya. It happened so fast that none of them had time to resist. "No. Don't touch her." Priya lunged forward, but Santos blocked her path, one hand raised. "Ma'am, you need to step back. We're trying to keep everyone safe, including your daughter." "She is my daughter. You can't just." "Ma'am, step back now or I will place you under arrest for obstruction." David struggled against Blake's grip. "This is ridiculous. We're American citizens. You can't." Blake twisted David's arm behind his back, not quite enough to hurt, but enough to make the message clear. "Sir, you are interfering with an active security operation. I strongly suggest you comply." Maya watched her parents being pulled away from her, their faces twisted in anguish and fury. She reached out for them, her small hand grasping at empty air. "Mommy. Daddy. It's okay, baby." Priya called out, tears streaming down her face. "It's going to be okay. Just tell them the truth." Lieutenant Morrison stepped between the family, creating a final barrier. He motioned for 2 more officers to escort the parents to a secure interrogation area near Gate 9. As they were led away, he turned his attention to the small, sobbing girl at the center of the circle of dogs. But first, he needed answers from the parents. In the stark, windowless room, David and Priya sat across from Morrison and Detective Sarah Hughes from the airport's Criminal Investigations Unit. A camera in the corner recorded everything. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows. "Let's start simple," Hughes said, her voice deceptively calm. "What did you pack in your daughter's backpack?" "Nothing." Priya's voice cracked. "I mean, she packed it herself. She wanted to carry her own bag. She's 7, she likes to feel independent." Morrison leaned forward. "So you're telling me you didn't inspect what she put in there?" David ran his hands through his hair, his mind racing. "Just her usual stuff. Some snacks, maybe her stuffed elephant. She takes it everywhere." "Why? What do you think is in there?" "We're asking the questions, sir." Hughes pulled out a notepad. "When did she pack the bag?" "Last night. Maybe the night before. I don't know exactly." "You don't know?" Morrison's tone made it sound like an accusation. "Did either of you notice her behaving strangely? Acting secretive?" Priya's eyes widened. "She's a child. Children are always secretive about something. She probably packed candy or something we told her she couldn't have on the plane." 14 police dogs don't react to candy, Mrs. Sharma." Hughes tapped her pen against the table. "They're trained to detect narcotics, explosives, and biological threats. Whatever is in that bag triggered an unprecedented response." David felt his stomach drop. You think we're terrorists? That we gave our daughter a bomb?" "I think," Morrison said slowly, "that you might not know what you're carrying. Criminal organizations use innocent families all the time. Someone could have switched bags at the hotel, or slipped something into your luggage at the airport." "This is insane." David slammed his hand on the table. "We're going to visit her grandmother in Seattle. My mother-in-law. We do this trip twice a year." Hughes continued writing. "What's your occupation, Mr. Sharma?" "I'm a software engineer. My wife is a dentist. We're not criminals. Then help us understand what's happening out there." Morrison's voice softened slightly, taking on an almost sympathetic tone. "Because right now, your daughter is surrounded by armed officers and 14 agitated police dogs. The longer this takes, the more dangerous it becomes. If you know something, anything, now is the time." Priya sobbed into her hands. "I don't know. I swear to God, I don't know what's in that bag." And that, Morrison thought grimly, was exactly what worried him most. Commander James Parker had defused bombs in Baghdad, dismantled explosive devices in subway stations, and talked down 3 suicide bombers during his 20-year career with the Dallas Bomb Squad. He had seen fear in every form imaginable. But something about the little girl standing in that circle of dogs made his chest tighten in a way that combat never had. She was so small. Her yellow sundress was wrinkled from travel, her pigtails coming loose. Tears and snot ran down her face as she clutched that purple backpack like it was the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly turned hostile. She looked exactly like his own daughter had looked at that age, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. Parker approached slowly, his heavy boots making soft thuds against the terminal floor. He wore full tactical gear, the padded suit, the helmet with the visor pushed up so she could see his face. He needed her to see that he was human, not just another threatening figure in uniform. The dogs parted slightly to let him through, though their attention never wavered from the backpack. Sasha whined, her entire body trembling. Max's tail gave an involuntary wag. Even Titan, the massive Rottweiler, looked less aggressive than desperate. "Hey there, sweetheart," Parker said, his voice calm and steady. He'd used this tone 100 times before, talking to hostages, talking to victims, talking to people who held their own lives in their shaking hands. "My name is Commander Parker. Can you tell me your name?" Maya's lips moved, but no sound came out. She was hyperventilating, her small chest heaving with panic breaths. "It's okay. You don't have to tell me right now." Parker knelt down slowly, bringing himself to her eye level. Behind him, a dozen weapons were trained on this exact spot. Sharpshooters positioned on the second level, officers with their hands on their holsters. But Maya didn't need to know that. "I know you're scared. I would be scared too. But I'm here to help you, okay?" Maya managed a tiny nod, her eyes wide and red from crying. "Good. That's really good." Parker kept his voice soft, gentle, like he was coaxing a frightened animal. "Now, I need you to do something for me. Can you do that? Can you help me out?" Another small nod. "I need you to take that backpack off your shoulders. Very slowly. Can you do that for me?" Maya's hands tightened on the straps. "But I know, sweetheart. I know it's yours. Nobody's going to take it away forever. But right now, just for a little while, I need you to put it down on the ground. Right here in front of you. Nice and slow. I didn't mean to." Maya's voice dissolved into sobs. "I was just trying to help." Parker felt his stomach clench. Trying to help. That's what they always said. The unwitting couriers, the manipulated children, the innocent pawns in someone else's game. It made it worse somehow. The innocence made everything worse. "I know you were, honey. And I believe you. But I still need you to put the bag down." Maya's fingers slowly released the straps. The backpack slid down her arms. Heavy, substantial. She held it in front of her chest for a moment, like she was saying goodbye to something precious. "That's perfect. You're doing great. Now just set it down. Right there on the floor." Maya bent slowly, her hands shaking violently. The backpack touched the ground with a soft thud. "Now I need you to take 3 steps backward. Away from the bag. Can you do that?" Maya took 1 step. Then another. Her legs wobbled. On the 3rd step, she collapsed to her knees, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. Parker stared at the purple backpack sitting alone on the terminal floor, surrounded by 14 police dogs who looked ready to tear it apart. Commander Parker pulled on a second pair of gloves, the latex snapping against his wrists with surgical precision. Every officer in the terminal held their breath. The sharpshooters on the upper level had their scopes locked on the purple backpack. One wrong move, one spark, one miscalculation, and the entire scenario could turn catastrophic in milliseconds. He approached the bag like it was a sleeping predator. His hands hovered over the zipper pull, a small metal tab shaped like a heart. Through his earpiece, he heard the bomb squad technician's voice from the mobile command unit outside. "Thermal imaging shows no electronic signature. No wires visible through X-ray. But proceed with extreme caution." Parker's fingers closed around the zipper. He pulled it slowly, one tooth at a time, the sound seeming impossibly loud in the tense silence. The dogs pressed forward, their whining reaching a fever pitch. Sasha was practically vibrating, her paws doing a little dance against the floor. The zipper reached the halfway point. Parker could see something inside now, wrapped in plastic. His heart hammered. Plastic wrapping. Classic signature for concealing contraband. His mind raced through possibilities. C4, heroin bricks, fentanyl packages worth millions on the street. He pulled the zipper the rest of the way open. Then he stopped. His expression shifted from intense concentration to complete bewilderment. He stared into the bag for 3 full seconds, his brain refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. It didn't make sense. None of this made sense. Slowly, carefully, he reached into the backpack and extracted a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. Inside were dozens of bone-shaped cookies, clearly homemade, some slightly crooked, dusted with what looked like flour. He held it up to the light, turning it over in his gloved hands. "Command, are you seeing this?" he said into his radio. "We see it. What else is in there?" Parker reached in again. This time he pulled out a package of premium beef jerky, the expensive kind from the organic grocery stores. Then another package. Then a bag of turkey strips. Then bacon-flavored training treats, still sealed in their original packaging. The bag was stuffed full of meat and dog treats. Nothing else. No wires. No powder. No contraband of any kind. Just food. 4 dogs. Behind him, the 14 police K9s completely lost their composure. The professional discipline that had been drilled into them through thousands of hours of training evaporated in an instant. Tails began wagging so hard entire back ends wiggled. The aggressive barking transformed into excited whining, pleading, desperate sounds that any dog owner would recognize immediately. Duke's tail wagged so frantically he nearly knocked over his handler. Max was doing a play bow, his front legs stretched out, his rear end in the air. Even Titan, the stoic Rottweiler, was prancing in place like a puppy who'd just seen his food bowl. They weren't alerting to danger. They had never been alerting to danger. They were begging. Parker looked from the bag of homemade cookies to the sobbing 7-year-old girl collapsed on the floor. His hand went to his forehead, and despite everything, despite the lockdown, despite the evacuation, despite the hours of terror this child and her parents had endured, he started to laugh. It was a stunned, disbelieving laugh that began as a chuckle and built into something uncontrollable. Officer Chen heard it and looked at Parker like he'd lost his mind. Then she saw what he was holding, and her expression crumbled. Rodriguez followed her gaze, and his face went pale. One by one, every officer in the terminal realized what had just happened. The most elaborate security response in Dallas International Airport's history. 14 compromised K9 units. A full terminal evacuation. A suspected terrorist threat. All because a little girl wanted to thank some dogs. Commander Parker walked over to Maya and knelt beside her, the bag of homemade cookies still in his hand. His voice, which moments ago had been commanding and firm, now carried a softness that made his throat tight. "Hey, sweetheart. Can you look at me for a second?" Maya lifted her tear-stained face, expecting punishment, expecting to be told she'd done something terrible. Instead, Parker was smiling. Not the tight, professional smile of someone doing their job, but a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "Can you tell me why you packed all this?" He held up the cookies. "Why did you bring treats for the dogs?" Maya's voice came out in hitching sobs, each word a struggle. I saw a lady on TV. She was talking about police dogs. She said they work so hard and nobody ever thanks them. They just work and never get anything special." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I thought if I brought them something nice, they'd know someone cared. I baked the cookies myself. I used the recipe from the internet that said it was safe for dogs." The terminal, still mostly evacuated, was silent except for Maya's crying. Officer Chen pressed her hand to her mouth, her own eyes suddenly wet. Rodriguez looked away, blinking hard. Even Lieutenant Morrison, who had been ready to treat this as a major security incident, felt something crack in his chest. Parker set the cookies down gently and pulled off his heavy tactical gloves. "That is the kindest thing I've heard in a very long time," he said quietly. "You made these yourself?" Maya nodded, hiccuping. "I watched YouTube videos. I wanted them to be perfect. They look perfect to me." Parker gestured to Officer Chen. "Can you radio the parents? Tell them to come back. Tell them everything's okay." Within minutes, David and Priya came running, their faces showing the wild relief of parents who'd thought they might never hold their daughter again. They crashed to their knees beside Maya, wrapping her in their arms, rocking her back and forth as all 3 of them sobbed. I'm sorry, Mommy, Maya cried into her mother's shoulder. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I just wanted it to be a surprise. Oh, baby. My sweet, beautiful baby. Priya kissed her daughter's head over and over. You're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong. Lieutenant Morrison cleared his throat. Well, actually, there are some regulations we need to discuss. But his stern expression softened immediately. Though I think we can make an exception for the circumstances. Maya, here's what you need to know. Airports have very strict rules about what you can bring on planes, and we need people to tell us what they're carrying so we can keep everyone safe. Next time, you tell your mom and dad what you're packing, okay? Maya nodded vigorously. I promise. I'm really, really sorry. But, Morrison continued, and now he was smiling too. What you did came from a very good heart. These dogs do work hard. And you're right, not enough people thank them. Commander Parker stood and addressed the K-9 handlers who had gathered around. What do you say? Do we let the dogs have their reward? The handlers looked at each other, then at Maya, then at their eager tail-wagging partners. Officer Chen grinned. I think Sasha's earned it. What happened next would become the most shared photo in Dallas International Airport's history. Maya sat cross-legged on the terminal floor, no longer surrounded by threat but by friendship. 14 police dogs sat in a perfect circle around her, each one receiving a homemade cookie from her small hands. Their tails wagged in synchronized happiness. Their handlers stood behind them, some laughing, some wiping away tears, all of them looking at this 7-year-old girl with something close to awe. A passenger who'd returned after the all-clear snapped a photo on his phone. Within hours, it would go viral. Within days, Maya would appear on morning talk shows. Within weeks, airports across the country would establish official thank you programs for their K-9 units, inspired by one little girl who just wanted dogs to know they were appreciated. But in that moment, Maya only cared about one thing. She looked at Sasha, who was delicately taking a cookie from her palm, and whispered, "You're a good dog. Thank you for keeping everyone safe." Sasha's tail wagged even harder, and for the first time in hours, Maya smiled. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories.